be a part of this opening of this amazing creative space, and we're honored to tell you our story. It's a pretty good one, I think. So, pushing the button. Oh, look, there we are. Okay, so I'm Stephanie Scianna Pitts. This is my dad, Cosimo Scianna, and we are the creators and founders of Art Nest. And we are going to tell you our story. So, first of all, we're talking about the depth of our connections. And imagine knowing who you are, even when the world may see you differently or you feel different than the world around you, and having a connection to someone or something that makes you feel like that world is your reality. Even when you question yourself, even when you go through an identity crisis, you can always come back to this thing that you have this deep connection with to remind you who and why you are. So that is the foundation of our story, and that is what has brought us to this moment right now. So this is us creating our deep connection. My dad and I were bonded from the day I was born. We always joke that we speak both languages, that we speak right brain very well. We've learned left brain, and we can translate to left brains sometimes. My father married a left brain. I married a left brain. And although they have sometimes trouble with our pacing in life, they respect and honor our creativity. So it's a really nice balance. So I grew up in a really creative household. We just understood each other, had this beautiful connection. Maybe I appreciated it more later on in life, as any kid does. And everything was taken to the next level. So whenever there was a project in school, it wasn't just like, oh, do your homework. It was like, no, okay, you want to do this? We're doing this. So I put an example here. You can see me in a toilet paper roll costume. This was a report that I did in 5th grade. The teacher, my 5th grade teacher that I didn't really like that much, challenged us to pick something to do a report on, and I was like, I'm going to do it on toilet paper rolls. And she was like, I accept that challenge. Let's see what you come up with. And then I went home. I was like, Dad, oh my God, what did I get myself into? I got to do this report. He's like, we're going to build a toilet paper roll costume, and you're going to get an A. And I was like, let's do it. So these are the kinds of things I'm talking about. This is how I grew up. I went in, got an A. Couldn't fit through the door, but I made it. So these are the seeds that were planted on our journey, and it's all about connection, and we'll get more into that in a little bit. I have to push this twice. So this is little Mr. Cosmo. So I'm going to pass it over to him because his story is really the backbone of how this all got started. So here you go.
Yes. Well, first of all, let me say I'm extremely proud of my daughter, Stephanie, for her vision, and the fact that I am part of it now is the best thing that can happen to any dad. Okay, so we have a lot of fun together. We laugh a lot, and we solve a lot of problems. And the depth of our relationship is that we are inspired by what we do, and we bounce off each other. So I'm going to tell you a little bit about myself, but most of the stories about Art Nest is going to come from Stephanie. So I started, my creative journey started in the 1st grade at PS 123, and Mrs. Monty was my teacher at the time. Mrs. Monty, who's
not Josephine Baker.
This is not Mrs. Monty, but she looked just like that. Okay? It was a long time ago, but she set the course of my life to be a creative person. She nurtured me, recognized that I had something that she saw was, something that needed to be
given to the world.
Given to the world. So she called my mother in one day, and she sat her down and had a meeting with her, and she told her, you've got to keep an eye on this kid, because he's going to be, he needs encouragement. And it's all you have to do to an Italian mother, is tell her only child that he needs attention. So I got plenty of attention, and that was what set the course of my life in the creative field. After going through school and in the class with Mrs. Monte, she put me in charge of all the graphics and the signs, and everything to do with art came to me. I was a little 7-year-old first grader, and I was in charge of the art program in first grade. That was the beginning of my, artistic path. Cut to junior high school, I applied to what was called at the time the School of Industrial Art. Okay, this was a fantastic school in New York City that prepared kids for the future in art. What was great about the school was the fact that the teachers, all the art teachers, were required to be professionals in their particular field. So I was taught by professionals, not academics, which to me was an incredible experience because I hadn't. One of the other great things about the school is that in the first year of high school, of the high school year, we were required to take many different courses before we picked a major. So we had architecture, sign and show card, fashion illustration, advertising, on and on and on. We had a taste of each of one of the possibilities that we should select for our major. I majored in advertising and illustration. And I graduated from what was changed to the High School of Art and Design from the High School of Industrial Art. And I became an assistant art director for a publishing company and stayed there for a couple of years and then moved on to become an art director for a publishing company in New York. And I was in charge of designing and producing all the book covers. So my job was to hire illustrators, photographers, graphic designers, typographers, and engravers and be in charge of the whole thing. I learned so much in that first job that it prepared me for my further career. At the same time, I became intrigued with the photographic image. So I started doing photography for myself because it intrigued me. And I set up a darkroom in my bathroom at the time, and I taught myself how to print because I didn't have that training. And I was hooked. That was it. My path was set. I soon quit my job and decided that I was going to do everything I possibly could to be a successful photographer in New York City. Well, I did it. I did it, and there's a lot of stories that go with that. It was a lot of hard work, and it may sound easy because I'm skipping over so much, but the point is that that's the depth of commitment that I had to what I wanted to do. And I was very lucky because there are a lot of people that don't know what they want to do. And part of my success came from the encouragement I got from my family, from the teachers in school because of the structure. In New York City at the time, there was a lot of vocational schools that specialized in things like the theater, music, engineering, art, and a lot of the trade skills that people like me needed to be successful in the real world. So it was a fantastic opportunity. I don't know if it still exists now in New York or in other places, but all I can say is that I graduated high school, I was ready to go to work. And it was a fantastic experience. I made lifelong friends at the school. And to this day, we get together for reunions, and I'm more than thrilled to continue my career. I'll give you, throughout my career, I started off as a graphic designer, art director. I became a photographer, cinematographer, filmmaker, fine art photographer. Now I'm involved in the most exciting project of all, is helping children find their way through non-judgmental art. And Stephanie, take it away.
Okay.
Okay.
So that's what set the stage for me, is I'm growing up in this, my parents, and by the way, my mom was a huge part of the creation of their company. It was their company together because we need that left brain, right brain. So she took care of all the stuff he didn't want to do, but very important stuff. So let me go to the next one. So I grew up on set. My brother and I, not only did we have, our parents had the coolest job ever, but they brought us into it. So we really got to be a part of it. And it wasn't just we're a part of it, they asked our opinions and they wanted our input, which really built our confidence and, made us who we are. So this is just a quick montage of my dad's work, and then I'm gonna show you something else that's really fun too. I really am. I promise I'm good.
I think the remote's going to be too far from that.
So, this
It's a montage first,
is montage, right?
and then they'll go into the.
No, this is not the montage. This is not the montage, but it's okay. So I'm on set.
Okay.
I got to iron the dresses. My brother was taking pictures. We were just there. We got to see all the people that you don't see in front of the camera, all behind. And so we were really a part of it. And that was the last time I probably ironed. Oh wait, it's going crazy. Hold on. So then, as I got older, and they actually paid me to work for them, I started doing the background design because I loved painting and that was my thing. So they actually hired me to do background set design. So here is that commercial, one of the commercials that I did background design on. And that's my brother. You know him. Watch your step, Dad. So it was so cool to be involved in this process and just be exposed to creativity every single day. Like, this was their job. It was so cool. So this was also, as you can tell, this was before the age of real computers and making things happen after you film it. So what was amazing, what was my favorite part about watching my dad work was how they had to solve the problems to make things look like they're actually happening, like on set, not after on the computer. So this is a great example, and I'm gonna actually hand it back over to you. Do we need this? Because and in true Italian fashion, he's using this as a talking thing instead of talking in it. Because I think, you can hear him, right? Okay. So this is
an example of a commercial that was all special effects, and it had to be all done in camera. So this, I had a prop maker make this egg. It had to be a certain, that looked just like a real egg. So every one of these tricks is a live trick.
So the egg was huge. So what did you have to do?
The egg was huge, so I had to hire a giant with a huge hand to make the egg look like the right size, as an example.
Right.
And it was like, and the balls that came up were really balls that were this big. They were on the ceiling, and they were held by a magnet. So I had a helmet on and a big piece of plexiglass, so that when it was time for to release those balls, so they looked like they were rising, it came toward the camera, and they all hit the glass, and it was just an amazing experience. So every one of those tricks, this was a 6-day shoot. Each one of those tricks were done in a whole day, and it was part of what I really always enjoyed was solving problems, and that's an example of that. This is obviously before the computer. Now we can do anything on the computer.
Yeah. And here's another example of creative problem solving.
This is
at its finest.
I'll show the spot and I'll explain it.
It gets a little pixelated.
So this was an interesting challenge because this was storyboarded, and I had a bid on this job, and this is how it usually goes: is they go to 3 or 4 different companies to bid on a job, and I had to come up with a solution, and I won the job. Now I had to figure out how to do it. Okay? I always said, I can do that. It's not a problem, because there's no way that anything couldn't be figured out if you put your mind to it. So I had to figure out a way, how am I going to get this car covered with mud to be washed away, beautifully clean in one take? So I had to experiment. I got the best prop makers in the business, and we collaborated and tested and experimented, and we found that mud really doesn't come off that clean when you put a hose to it. It leaves residue. What am I going to do? How am I going to do this? So we came up with a compound of oatmeal and mud until the right combination, because oatmeal is pretty slimy, and it was the right combination. And at the same time, I had to build two 500-gallon tanks to be triggered to go off at the same time. So as simple as that sounds, it took 2 weeks to figure out how to do it, because we had multiple testing on how the oatmeal mud worked, and that's the final result. An example of problem solving,
Yeah.
which is what I
Yes.
love to do.
Yep, and it was instilled within us every single day. So, hold on. Okay, so now Art Nest. So this is where we are now. And so rewind a little bit. We moved down here, or my husband and I moved down here, my parents moved down here. I had just had my second child. I was working at a company called School of Rock. After school tutoring, I was the director of franchise operations, and I had to travel a lot. It was an incredible experience because I got to learn how to run a business. I was coaching people on how to run their own businesses, multi-unit management. But I didn't want to travel anymore. I wanted to be present for my kids. I really wanted to be that mom that, I want to pick my kids up after school. But I still really needed to work because that's, do something that I'm really passionate about. So, my dad and I were like, my dad, moved down. He was working on his photography, in retirement from his film business. And I was like, Dad, we got to do something. Like, I'm taking you out of retirement. We're doing this. So
I said, I'm in.
Yeah, I don't care what it is. I'm doing it.
Right.
So we decided, we found this space, and we thought it would be a great idea to have a space for us to do our own artwork. And then I was like, I used to be an art teacher. We skipped that part, but that's okay because we're running out of time. So I was like, I'll teach some classes to pay the rent, and then it'll be like a break-even situation. We can work on our art. We'll start making money doing selling our own artwork. So that didn't happen. What did happen was so beautiful, though, and we had the rooms in the back that stayed empty, but we were in the front teaching because the community embraced us so incredibly that we were sold out every single day. It was like, we could only fit 10 kids, so it wasn't that hard to sell out, but that's still a huge feat. But, so this is the first original space. I taught every single class. I refused to teach on the weekends or when my kids were, not in school. I only kept them in aftercare until 4:15 because I wanted to run and hurry up and be there. So I refused to work outside those hours. But the community kept asking, can you do birthday parties? Can you do workshops? What if you taught this? Can you teach older kids? And I was like, oh man, I want to do this so badly. We're going to have to do this. So we had to make a big decision. And it was, do we stay boutique and, just, try to work on our own artwork? I don't know. Or is this really an opportunity that we should take? And I believe in the universe, and it was speaking to us. So we followed the universe, and we moved into a bigger Delray location that's now our current location. This is the original location. So any of you that have been to Art Nest or heard of Art Nest probably know about our splash room, and it's a complete and utter sensory experience for the kids, and it's all they really want to do because they won't do it at home because you don't want to clean up. So this is how it started. It actually was we did monthly themes, and every time we did graffiti, we let them just like spray all over the walls and actually, there's some familiar kids in here. We let them spray on the walls. They would spray themselves. They were like, this is amazing. But it's really connecting things in their brains that I didn't even realize was happening until I did the research later. And so then I realized this is really what they want. So when we moved to the new location, I was like, we need a splash room. It can't just be a once a month theme or once a 3-month theme. We need a splash room. And then I did the research on process-based art, which I thought I invented until I actually read that it was a thing. And I was like, oh my God, it does so much for them, because I was just following their lead, because that's, they were telling me what they wanted. And so that is how the splash room started, and this is how it's doing now. So this is what happens in the splash room. So it gets crazy and more. We do birthday parties in there. Like, this is literally like the ultimate feeling of freedom. So, and we do adult parties in there too. So, yes. So we moved into, I'm gonna go really quick because I know I'm running out of time, but we moved into the Delray location, and then we saw a market in West Boca, so we were like, let's just do it. I felt confident about doing it because I had my experience doing multi-unit management at School of Rock, so I was like, we got this, we're gonna do it. And then COVID hit right after we opened in Boca. But because we have such an amazing and supportive community, and because we are creative problem solvers, we came up with a way to save our business, which was home kits. And I don't even know if half the people wanted these home kits, but they were buying them just to support us. They were like, we want you to succeed. So this was my weekend. My husband knows that every weekend our kids were delivering home kits. So
And we were too.
You were too, that's right. Well, you guys were making them. Right. You had a whole production center making the home kits, and then Sharif and I and my kids were delivering them every single weekend. And this is sort of the full circle moment where I'm bringing my kids into the business, and they're just such a huge part of it, but we didn't pay them yet, so. And we knew COVID wasn't gonna stop us. Our staff was pumped because we were able to keep our staff because of the home kits. And so we came up with some pretty epic ideas, because we needed to have ideas where people were willing to take the risk of the kids getting sick to be worth it to come to our studio. So we were because it was a crazy time. You didn't know what to do with your kids. So it was we have to make it so epic that they're not gonna wanna miss it, So that's when the ideas really started flowing. This was a blessing in disguise. So that was our splash room. Oh my God, something's happening. Wait. Splash room, we did photo shoots, obviously. My dad does photo shoots, and they're epic. Something's happening with this thing, and I don't know what to do.
Maybe two steps this way.
Still want to switch sides?
Yeah.
Switch sides.
It just skipped everything, but it's okay. So we did, so this is stuff that we also still do now, but we had to come up with these creative off-the-wall concepts, and the crazier the better. And our staff had specialty talents. We had a fashion designer, so we're doing a fashion class. They walked down the runway. We did professional photo shoots for them. They made all their own clothes. We had a skateboard artist, so the kids made skateboards and rode them, and it was amazing. We did interior dollhouse design to teach them interior design. So it was real classes, yes. We did Boca Basil, where we were at the zoo, so obviously we had to dress up like jaguars and take pictures with people. And then we did a Banksy tribute where, so we're anonymous, get it? We were in our black morph suits, so we became anonymous like Banksy, and then we did this big graffiti wall. We do adult events, and we did blindfolded sculpting. We were let's just throw ideas at the wall and just see. And whatever we were excited about, we did, as crazy as it was. So we saw the photo shoots. And then we do ambushes. And this is a quick example of how one of my dad's superpowers, and you can see through his career, is that he can literally make anything. So I was like, Dad, we need a life-size slingshot. And then this happened. So you can see now at the ambushes, those are paintballs that they slingshot across the yard, which is who doesn't want to do that? And obviously everything was tested first by my children. Little monsters, so we have our baby sensory classes, and it's just the cutest thing ever. And then we have them for life. Birthday parties, which we just, make them epic and customize and do all kinds of things. Whatever they want to do, they do. And really, the most important thing, and we have a staff member here who's right there, but the staff is the most important thing. They're the connection to the kids. And just like my dad described in the beginning with Miss Monty, Josephine Baker, was, you know, the connection, you can change a life. And that's what we want to do. We want to change these kids' lives. They're, you know, especially after these last few years, they're under so much stress. They need a place to be free. They need a place to, you know, be themselves and know that they can always come back to that within themselves to know who they are, and that it's a safe space. So most importantly, and we've grown, we have 15 staff members now, which is crazy. And then that's it. So, anyway, that's awesome.